measurement of alternatives and ranking according to compromise solution, and ranking of alternatives through functional mapping of criterion sub-intervals into single interval, or popularly RAPSI. So these days, these techniques are known by their abbreviations, like we call TOPSI, ZIDAS, COCOSO, MARCOS, RAPSI. So he is a developer of, published version, two techniques, and I'm sure that many more techniques are in the pipeline. He is a PhD from Jadavpur University, and now he is serving as an associate professor and HOD of Mechanical Engineering Department at MCKB Institute, Mechanical Engineering Department at MCKB Institute of Engineering, India. I mean, he has around 100 research papers touching, published in the journals of repute like International Journal of Production Research, Applied Soft Computing, Computers and Industrial Engineering, Management Decision, Journal of Cleaner Production, Journal of Natural Fibers, Benchmarking. I mean, I just can't read all these lists because it is a too long list, because he has published papers in various reputed journals. That means it takes time for me to tell all these things. And in addition, he is a reviewer of prestigious journals, are indexed in ASCI or SSCI and Scopus, and also series editor of book series belonging to Taylor Francis Group. And that's it. And I mean, I would love to talk on Sir's work it takes me around an hour to describe his contribution. But for the sake of this workshop, I am just restricting myself. And now it's my pleasure to hand over the session to Sir. Sir, the session is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Biswas, for giving me this opportunity. So let me first share my screen, and then we can talk and discuss about today's topic. Okay, so I am right now going to share the screen. I hope the screen is visible to all.
Yeah, it is visible, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Biswas. So today's the title of today's topic is additive multi-criteria decision-making methods, its techniques and applications. So before going into the details of today's presentation, first I like to recall a famous line given by Professor Davy Crockett, that be sure you're right, then go ahead. So this line was given a few decades back. And what Professor Davy intended to mean is that be sure you are right, then go ahead. That means before moving forward in life, we need to take appropriate decisions. Based on this concept, now I would like to present the further topics under today's discussion and topic. As I already said, that today's title is additive multi-criteria decision-making methods, techniques and applications. So from the title, it is clear that today's presentation is basically based on decision and decision-making techniques, particularly multi-criteria decision-making. So first of all, we would like to know what is a decision and what is decision-making. So basically, a decision is one when there are different things that we can do, and we pick any one of them. It means a decision is basically a choice made between two or more available alternative, or basically feasible alternative. That means when we have lots of alternatives in our life, and among those alternatives, when we choose a particular alternative that fits our requirement. So this is known as decision. But the entire process behind this taking decision is called basically decision making. So decision making is the process of choosing the best alternative. So decision making is the process of choosing the best alternative out of the available alternatives that fit to our objectives, our requirements and our goals. So this is basically decision and decision making. And as we all know that we are surrounded by decisions and decision making, because in our lots of daily activities, we take lots of decisions regarding our professional life, our family life. So decision and decision making process, these are the two integral part of any human life. So moving forward, so there are basically 6 C's in any decision making process. First one is construct. That means the decision maker or the policy maker or the individual must have a clear picture about what is to be decided. That means first the decision maker needs to fix up their goals, objectives and requirement. So once this is clear, then the decision maker on the individual may go for listing all his or her requirements that must be met through these objectives or goals. And based on this construction and compilation phase, the individual can collect more information on the alternatives and criteria that meet their requirements. And once the information on the alternatives and the criteria that describe the alternatives are basically fixed or determined, then they can compare the alternatives that meet their requirements. So after fixing their goals and objectives, first the individual or the decision maker has to compile a list of their individual requirements. To fulfill those requirements, then the next phase will be to collect information on the available alternatives and the predetermined criteria that fulfills its goal or objectives. And after fixing all this information, we can then compare the alternatives based on the predetermined criteria to fulfill our goals and objectives. And after comparison, then we need to understand what might be wrong factor with each alternative. That means what is the weakness of those alternatives. And based on this factor, we need to take an appropriate decision. And once a decision is committed or taken, we need to follow through it. So these 6 C's, that means construct, then compile, collect, compare, consider, and commit. These 6 are the basis of making a right decision. Now moving forward, so this is basically a typical decision making process in which, as we can see, that each and every decision making process has its own objectives or goals. Based on the objective or the requirement of the goals, the decision maker must first identify the problem or fix the problem. When the problem is fixed, so based on the objectives and the problem or requirement of the decision maker, then the decision maker can start collecting information. That means the data collection process or phase start. Now the first 2 phases, that's been objective and problems, these 2 steps are related to identifying the problem. That means first we need to understand why we are going to take any decision or what is the importance of taking the decision. So until we can identify the problem, we will never be able to take any appropriate decision or we will never come to any appropriate solution. So once the objectives and the problem, these 2 things are identified, so based on these 2 pre-identified items, we can go for the next phase, that means the data collection. And once the data collection process starts, it basically includes the collection of information about the alternatives, about the criteria. And once the alternative and the criteria information are obtained, then we can go for the evaluation of these alternatives based on this criteria. So particularly these 3 phases, that means data collection, based on data collection, we can consider alternatives and criteria, and based on these 2, we can go for evaluation. So these particular 3 phases are basically known as analyzation of the problem or analyzing the problem or the problem analysis phase. Because once the problem is fixed, next step is to analyze the problem. To analyze the problem, we need to go for data collection, and the data collection process basically or fundamentally includes collection of information about the alternatives, about the criteria, and based on this criteria, the alternatives are to be evaluated. So the next step is evaluation. So analyzing the problem or the problem analysis phase essentially consists of these 3 stages: data collection, alternatives, and evaluation. So from this figure, we can see that once the data collection process has already started, we can see that we may have 3 more or 5 or even 10 or n number of alternatives. So based on the figures, we can see that X, Y, Z, suppose these are the 3 alternatives. Now these 3 alternatives will be evaluated based upon some criteria or attributes. Now once the evaluation is done, we need to select one alternative and out of this X, Y, Z. So this process is called selection of the alternative. Now once the optimum or the best alternative or the most feasible alternative is identified, then we need to go for implementation of the results. And once the results are implemented, we need to collect feedback. Now feedback means whether the selected alternative is giving us the expected performance or not. Okay, so after feedback, we need to go for testing. Now, in testing phase, it is also known as sensitivity analysis. That means if some input parameters are changed, whether it will affect the selection of the alternative or not, or how it affects the performance of the alternative. So once the feedback information is collected, we can go for testing or sensitivity analysis or some sort of performance comparison test. And after this testing, if we get some unexpected results, then we must again check for information, or we need to fix up our objectives, and accordingly we need to redefine the problem. And once the problem is redefined, again we need to repeat the data collection and alternative and criteria collection process, and further again evaluation and selection is repeated. So in this way, an appropriate or proper decision making process is basically carried out. So as I said, identifying the problem means to fix up the objectives or goal or requirement of the decision maker, and based on his or her requirement, the problem, the statement is to be defined. So these two are very important phases, because until these two phases are clear or attained, the entire process will depend on these two. So identifying the problem and next is analyzing the problem. These two terms basically make a complete decision making system or process. Now identifying the problem. Now how to identify the problem? That means if there is a problem in the system, it may be occurred by someone. That means who is responsible for the problem, why it is occurring, when it is occurring, or what is the reason behind the problem, from where it is occurring, and how it is occurring. So basically this 5W and 1H, this will give us the actual definition or statement of the problem: who, why, when, what, where, and how. So if we know the answers of these 5W and 1H, then we can appropriately define the problem. So these are the practical examples. Like if any of us is facing any problem in our life, it may be related to our professional career, academic career, or personal life. That means these 5W and 1H will give us to fix up the problem. So this phase is basically called the identification of the problem statement. Now once the problem statement is identified, we need to go for analyzing the problem. Now first, so problem identification is basically called as the structuring of the problem. That means define the problem, identify the alternatives, and identify the criteria based on which the alternatives will be evaluated. Now after structuring the problem or identifying the problem, we need to start for analyzing the problem. That means we need to go for the problem analysis phase. Now this analysis can be performed in two ways. First way is the qualitative analysis, and the second way is known as the quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, what we do, we solely depend on our own experience, our performance, our judgment. That means it is basically based on the manager's or the decision maker's judgment, perception, and own experience. But the quantitative analysis is not based on the perception or experience. We need the help of some mathematical modeling or statistical tools to analyze the problem in more detail, because as we all know that the perception may fail, experience may fail sometime, judgment can be single-sided, or judgments can be partially made. So the probability of making error in qualitative analysis is more as compared to quantitative analysis. And from this perspective, we need the help of some mathematical modeling and statistical tools to properly analyze the problem for to reach to the major outcomes. So after this analyzing phase, that means when the qualitative or the quantitative technique has been applied to analyze the problem, we will have a summary and evaluation of the alternatives. And based on the summary of the alternatives, or based on the performance score, or based on the outcome of the evaluation, we can make an appropriate selection. That means choose an alternative based on this outcome. So this is basically the entire analytical phase. Now, as I said, this quantitative analysis is based on mathematical modeling and statistical tools. So from this perspective, the today's discussion of additive multi-criteria decision making, or the general concept of multi-criteria decision making, comes up from this, from the notion of mathematical modeling and statistical analysis. So these two terms are the basis of any MCDM or multi-criteria decision making problem analysis. So now, first we need to know what is the multi-criteria decision making. So multi-criteria decision making, or popularly known as MCDM, is concerned with those situations where a decision maker has to choose the best alternative from a finite set of alternatives while considering a set of mutually conflicting criteria. That means the criteria can be mutually conflicted, and based on these mutually conflicting criteria, we need to identify the most feasible alternative out of a set of feasible or finite set of alternatives. So selecting one particular best or feasible alternative from a set of finite alternative is basically called multi-criteria decision making. That means the decisions are based on multiple criteria. There will be more than 2, 3, 4 or 5 criteria, or n number criteria can be there. And based on n number of criteria or multiple criteria, we need to take an appropriate decision. That also fits to our, and that should fit to our major requirement, major objectives or major goal. So the aim of any decision support or decision making system is to assist the decision makers to take appropriate decisions that are consistent with their goals and preferences. That means whatever decision is taken after evaluation, after identifying, after the analytical phase, whatever decision is taken, that should match with, or that should fit with the objective and the goals of the decision maker. Otherwise, there is no issue in taking any decision. Now, as we can see that in our daily life, there are lots of questions that we are asked, like what model should be selected, what hotel should be selected by us, or where destination should be selected for a trip, or who is the best candidate among a lot of students, and which one fits our requirements. So these are some daily life examples that occur mundane in our mundane lives, and some examples like finding the best laptop model. Now, if we want to buy a laptop and somebody approaches to a shopkeeper or a laptop shop, then the owner of the shop or the service boy and will show different types of models that will fit to the budget. Now, based on the different set of alternative models, one needs to identify or select only one laptop model. But for selecting this laptop model, that decision maker or the purchaser must have some prefixed criteria like the size of RAM, operating system supported. Now the laptop has webcam or not, what will be the internal hard disk, and what will be the other software that can be supported by the laptop. So those are the requirements, and these requirements basically change from person to person, because if I go to buy a laptop, my requirement will be different as compared to some other person who intends to buy a laptop, because my professional commitment, my professional requirement or academic requirement may be different from the others. So similarly, to find out the best laptop model, for selecting the best paper presenter in any conference, analyzing any energy systems, locating a hospital on an airport. And so there are thousands of cases that regularly occur in our daily lives, and for those examples or for those cases, multi-criteria decision-making methods, particularly MCDM methods, can be very much helpful to us for taking appropriate decisions or efficient decisions. Now, if we talk about the common elements of any MCDM method, as we have already talked, that any decision making problem has basically four components. First one is to set the objectives. Based on the objectives, we need to identify the alternatives and criteria. So the alternatives and the criteria or attributes are the two major components in any MCDM method. Now, once these alternatives and criteria are fixed, we need to go for estimation of the criteria weights or the relative importance of the criteria weights. Like if we talk about the laptop model selection, once I approach to a laptop shop, my requirements will be different. Like, okay, for me, the price of the laptop may be the most important parameter, but for someone else, the hard disk size may be the most important parameter. So from person to person, from decision maker to decision maker, the relative importance of the criteria weights can change. So the third most important element in any MCDM modeling is to appropriately derive the relative importance of the criteria or weights of the criteria. Now, once these alternatives, the criteria and their respective relative importance are estimated, we can go for performance evaluation of those alternatives. That means the measurement of performance of the alternatives in terms of some performance scores. And based on the outcome, that means based on the overall performance score of the alternatives, we can select a particular alternative with highest value. In some cases, the lower values are also preferable. So it depends on the mathematical modeling of a particular decision-making method. In some cases, the higher values of the performance score indicates better ranking. In some cases, lower values of performance scores indicate a better position in the ranking order. So it entirely depends on the mathematical modeling of that particular MCDM method. So basically, in any MCDM method, we are basically having four explicit stages. First one is the information collection or data collection phase. That means input processing, and the data or the information about the criteria and alternative. So this is the required information or the essential information for any MCDM modeling. So first phase, sorry. So first phase is the information collection or data processing. Now, once the information about the alternatives and criteria are assessed, we need to go for modeling interfaces or the modeling process starts. Once the modeling is completed, then we can go for calculation or aggregation phase. And once the weights and the criteria and the alternatives all they are put together, then we can get the outcome or the recommendation or the results from an MCDM model. So basically, information collection and modeling process, these are the two constructive phases in any MCDM method, whereas aggregation or calculation and the recommendation or the outcome of from MCDM, these two phases are basically the exploitation of decision making tools. So there are essentially two phases. The first phase is the construction phase, and the other phase is the exploitation phase, where we go for the model calculation, and based on the calculation we come with some recommendation or selection of the alternatives with some ranking order. This is called exploitation phase. Sorry. Now this is the basic steps in any MCDM method. Now I have drawn this figure based on the discussion that we already have. So first step, now just this particular diagram is given to recall all the steps that we have already discussed. So the first phase in any MCDM process, the first step starts with the problem identification, then problem exploration and information processing or data collection. And once the data is collected, we can go for screening phase. So this is an extra term that I have added. Screening means like if we talk about these laptop examples, the shopkeeper or the shop owner or the service person can show us some laptop models which may be beyond our budget. So those alternatives or those laptop models have to be discarded because we have some financial restrictions, or every decision maker has some budget in his mind. Okay, so the screening phase is basically utilized to discard the alternatives which do not fit to the requirements or goals to the decision maker. Now, once the screening phase is done, we need to develop the decision matrix. Now, what is the decision matrix? It means it is the data or the information about the respective alternatives and criteria. It is like a matrix where in the column we have the criteria, in the row we have the alternatives. Now each alternative will have a particular numerical value against each of the criteria. Okay, like if I talk about the laptop model, say we have 3 laptop models and 4 criteria, and cost is a particular criterion out of these 4. Now model number 1 will have a particular cost value. Model number 2 will have a particular cost value. Now if we fill this matrix, it will be formed, or it will be called as a decision matrix. And this is the basically the input data for any MCDM modeling. Now once this the development of decision matrix or the decision matrix is formed, we can go for the modeling process and then aggregation or the calculation process. And once the aggregation process is completed, we can come with some recommendation or results. Now, to further check the quality or reliability of the results, as I already said, we can go for some testing of the results. This particular testing phase in MCDM is called sensitivity analysis, where we can check if the results or the recommendations are sensitive or they are dependent on the input modeling or not, or how much they will depend. And if we change any of the input values, how much the results will be affected. So this particular phase is called sensitivity analysis. Now after sensitivity analysis, if no further analysis is required, then we can directly go for making recommendation. But if we are not satisfied with the results, or if the decision maker finds that it is not meeting or is not matching with their goals and objectives, then either we need to check for the modeling process or the aggregation phase, or we need to check the data collection phase. And we can redefine the process, and we have to repeat the process until we get an appropriate decision. So this is so these are the basic steps in any multi-criteria decision process modeling. Now moving forward, these MCDM methods can be classified in various ways. So I have jotted down in a very simple manner. So basically MCDM methods can be classified into 2 subcategories. First one is known as MADM, or multi-attribute decision making, and the second classification is known as multi-objective decision making. So the examples that we were dealing, like the selection of the laptop model, selection of the best paper presenter, selection of the mobile phone based on some predetermined criteria. So these type of examples are called multi-attribute decision making problem, or MADA problem, where the objective is to identify the best alternatives. But in some cases, it can happen that we do not have any information about the alternative or the criteria, and the alternative is to be designed with respect to some our predetermined objectives. In that case, we call the problem multi-objective decision-making problems. Now, further, this MADM or MODM, both these 2 types of classifications can be further subclassified as individual decision-making or group decision-making. Under individual decision-making, the number of decision maker is only 1. Like if I go to a shop to buy a laptop, I am the sole decision maker to take the appropriate decision. Now, if I go with some friends, now my friends will also give some opinion about their experiences about the laptop models. So once the opinions of the other members are also considered into the process, it is called group decision making, a process where the number of decision makers is more than 1. It may be 2, 3, 4, or m number of decision makers can be there. Now, this individual or group, whatever may be the case, every decision can be either taken with certainty, or there may be some uncertainties, or when we lack about exact information. So certainty means when the decision maker has particular information about the problem, about the objectives, about the alternatives, and about the criteria. Like if we talk about the laptop selection model, so it is very easy to get the information about the laptops. So these are basically called certainties, or the problems with certainty, where the decision maker has exact information about the alternatives and the criteria. But there may be some cases where we may not have exact information, or we may have incomplete or imprecise information, or we have some fuzziness in the information that has to be processed. Those situations are called uncertain decision making process. Now, whether a decision making problem is certain decision making problem or deterministic type problem or uncertain type problem, they can be further classified into three main categories. First one is the elementary process or elementary methods. Second one is unique synthesizing criteria. They have these particular methods treat the criteria in some specific or peculiar ways, and that is why they are called unique synthesizing criteria. And the first and the last one is the outranking. That means they outrank each other. Okay, one alternative outranks another alternative or outperforms another alternative based on some performance score. So under elementary method, we have these additive multi-criteria decision-making methods, which are the fundamental MCDM methods, like simple additive weighting techniques are there. Then a weighted sum model, simple additive weight, and weighted product model. So these three methods are the examples of the elementary or the fundamental MCDM methods, because these methods were developed at the beginning of the decision making process. That means when MCDM was actually, or when the MCDM methods were being developed, so these were the initial methods that were developed. And these three methods have huge applications in the MCDM history. Now, once we come to our unique synthesizing criteria, we have lots of methods, and major methods are TOPSIS, GRA or Gray Relational Analysis, IFAMIX, and SMART. So these four methods and lots more are the examples of unique synthesizing criteria, where the mathematical modeling of this method particularly treats the criteria in separate ways. And under outranking methods, we have different methods like the Prometheus family, Electra family, Oresta regime. So these are some examples of outranking families. So these are now under MODM method, we have lots of classifications are like individual and group decision making systems. And then further they can be classified as probabilistic and fuzzy. And under this MODM, the main examples are linear programming based tools, which are single objective optimization tools, goal programming, lean map, and lexicographic methods. So these are the few methods which are based on single objective or multi-objective optimization problems. So our main focus will be on the discussion of the elementary decision making methods, which are also called as additive multi-criteria decision making methods. So moving forward, let's see what is about the additive MCDM methods, or what is actually the additive methods. In additive MCDM methods, the evaluation scores are basically calculated for each alternative by multiplying the scaled criteria values of the alternative with the criteria weights, followed by summing of the product of all criteria. It means we need to multiply the criteria values with the criteria weights for a particular alternative, and we have to sum up these multiplied values for all the criteria, and then we can get the overall performance score of a particular alternative. So these type of methods, or these type of process, or this particular modeling is followed in different types of methods like SAW, WASPAS, ROVM, ARA. So these four are the primarily or fundamentally these additive MCDM methods. The bluntest or biggest advantage of these additive methods is that they are very simple to use, and they use proportional linear transformation of data. That means for data normalization, they use linear transformation or linear normalization techniques are followed. And the advantage of using linear normalization technique is that the relative order of magnitude of the standardized scores remain equal. Now, what is data normalization? As we have already talked about the laptop selection model, so we can say that in a particular laptop selection model, like we have some alternatives like the laptop models like Dell, then HP, then Lenovo. So these are the alternative models, and we have some predetermined criteria like price of the model, then internal hard disks or hard disks of the model. So these are the criteria based on which we have to evaluate the model. Okay. Now see the unit of criteria is rupees or dollar, and the unit of hard disk is either GB or terabyte. Terabyte means like a TB. So the units are different. Now how to compare it? Okay, even we can see that price. So each and every decision maker will always go for lower prices. That means price is a non-beneficial attribute or non-beneficial criteria where we always prefer or mostly prefer lower values. But for performance, for hard disks, we always prefer for higher the better. That means higher values are often desirable. So to discriminate or to bring all these non-commensable and mutually criteria into a comparable one, we need to go for data normalization, which can transform all the data in dimensionless values. So to convert the raw data into dimensionless values, this phase is called data normalization or the modeling interface in any decision making method. And this particular additive multi-criteria decision making method uses linear normalization technique. There are so many normalization techniques like vector normalization, Gaussian normalization, the logarithmic normalization process. But these additive multi-criteria decision making methods particularly use the simplest one, that means the linear normalization technique. And if we go for linear normalization technique, its advantage is that the relative order of magnitude of the standardized scores remain equal. That means, okay, the particular criteria or the specific value which was maximum after normalization, its maximum value will be retained. So the relative order of magnitude will be same, will be unchanged. So this is the largest advantage, biggest advantage of using the linear normalization techniques. And as I already said, that the examples of the additive multi-criteria decision making methods are SAW method, WASPAS, ROVM, and ARAS methods. And now we'll come to the details of these methods individually. Now, this particular SAW method or simple additive weighting, this particular method was developed by Fishman in 1967. And this model is also known as weighted sum model. Simple weighting, simple additive weighting or weighted sum model. Now, as I said, so after development of the decision matrix, we need to go for the modeling interface. And under modeling, we need to first convert the criteria with units to the criteria with dimensionless values. That means we need to perform data normalization technique. We have to use any data normalization technique. And for this SAW method, as I already said, that these additive MCDA methods uses linear normalization. So these two equations are used respectively for the beneficial criteria and for non-beneficial criteria. I have already mentioned that beneficial criteria means the criteria for which each and every individual will prefer higher values, like a performance, hard disks of the laptop. So these are the beneficial criteria. And non-beneficial criteria means loss or profit, or cost criteria. Okay, so the non-beneficial criteria means where we will expect or we will prefer lower values, like for cost, like for loss. So we will never want too much of cost or too much of loss. So for these two particular type of criteria, we will always go for lower the better values. These are called non-beneficial criteria. So the first equation is used for the beneficial criteria, whereas the second equation is meant for the non-beneficial criteria. To convert the criteria into dimensionless values. Now, once this normalization technique has been applied, we need to aggregate the performance scores of the alternatives, and the overall performance scores of the alternative is obtained as the weighted summation of the criteria values and the weight values. That means summation of Wj into Xij. Xij is the normalized values of the elements, and Wj is the weight of the respective criteria. So that means we have to go for an additive process where we multiply the respective normalized value with its respective criteria weight, and then we take summation for all the criteria for a particular alternative to get the overall performance score of the alternative. Now, the alternative with the highest PI value or overall performance score value is considered as the best choice. As I have already mentioned that in some methods, we always prefer or the alternatives are ranked on the basis of ascending order or descending order of the overall performance score. Now, in SAW method, the highest PI, the alternative with the highest PI value will be ranked as the best alternative, or will be selected as the best alternative and followed by the other alternatives based on their overall performance score values. Okay, so this is the simple concept of SAW method. So we can see that it's a very simple method. Only two equations are there, and it is very easy to comprehend and it is very easy to apply. The next method in this category is called as weighted aggregated sum product assessment method, or the WASPAS method. This particular method was developed in 2012 by Javadaskas et al. Now, this, a particular special feature of this WASPAS method is that it is a unique combination of two well-known MCDM methods. That means the weighted sum method, or that we have already talked about, the SAW model or the WSN model, and we have one more MCDM method which is called weighted product model, or WPM. That is, it means WASPAS is a combination of SAW and WPM methods. When we combine these two methods, we can get WASPAS method. Now, Javadaskas et al. Also proposed a joint criteria how to join these two methods, or how to integrate the SAW and WPM method to get WASPAS method. So Javadaskas et al. Proposed one equation. That means this Q1 or QY1 is the overall performance score obtained using SAW method, as we have already discussed. This QY or PI is basically same. In only SAW method, we indicate the overall performance score using PI. In WASPAS method, we indicate the overall performance score as QI. There is no restriction of using a particular symbol. One can choose any type of symbol. Okay. So QI1 is the overall performance score obtained from SAW method. That means QI is the SAW score or overall score of an alternative obtained by applying application of SAW method. Now, whereas the QI2, so this is the second score. So we in WASPAS method, two scores are obtained. First, overall performance score is obtained by application of SAW method, and then we need to apply WPM method or weighted product model to obtain the overall score of the alternatives. And in SAW method, it follows a simple additive weighting. And here it follows the multiplicative weighting. That means the multiplication of Rij to the power of Wj. Now, once these two overall performance scores are obtained, WASPAS method uses this particular equation for estimation of the aggregated Q score or aggregated performance score QI. Okay, QI means the overall or the aggregated performance score of ith alternative. And the equation is lambda into QI1 plus 1 minus lambda into QI2. Lambda is given as the importance to the particular method. How much we give importance to SAW or how much importance we can give to WPM method, it specifically depends on the decision maker. Okay. So once and normally and normally the lambda value is taken as 0.5. That means in this equation, this lambda value ranges from 0 to 1, and in general the lambda value is taken as 0.5. So when lambda is 0, that means this part is going to be 0. That means there will be no score of QI1. It means we will be left only with the QI2 score. That means the WASPAS method is converted to WPM method. And when lambda is equal to 1, then WASPAS method is converted to the SAW method or simple additive weighting method. So based on this lambda value, either it can range from 0 to 1 or put 0 or 1 or an intermediate value, or the normal value is 0.5. So based on these values of lambda, the performance scores of the alternatives will accordingly change. So it is one type of sensitive analysis also to check the performance score. Now the best alternative is selected on the basis of the highest QI value. That means the alternative will be the rank 1 alternative or the best alternative which will have the highest QI value. So again, in WASPAS method, the alternatives are ranked on the basis of the aggregated performance score or the QI value. An alternative with the highest QI value will be called as the best alternative. And the alternative with the lowest QI value is and will be called as the worst alternative, and that alternative should never be selected as a decision. So this is the fundamental of worst first method. Now moving forward to the range of value method. So it is one of the oldest methods. It was developed by Jokic et al. In 1993. So this particular method is based on the concept of utility. So after data normalization, this method calculates the best and the worst utilities of each decision alternative. That means the highest performance score and the lowest performance scores of the alternative or the utilities. Now the best utility and the worst utility for an alternative is obtained using the two following expressions. Okay, so these are the two simple equations used for the best utility and the worst utility. Now here the best utility means it is the weighted summation. See, the same equation is being applied here. It is the equation of the SAW method. But this UII plus means it is the weighted summation of only for the beneficial criteria. Whereas the worst utility means it is the overall performance scores of an alternative with respect to the non-beneficial criteria. So UI plus means the overall or the weighted overall performance score of an alternative with respect to the higher the better criteria or beneficial criteria, whereas this UI minus indicates the overall performance score of an alternative with respect to the lower the better criteria or the negative criteria or the non-beneficial criteria. Okay, so after estimating these two utility values, an average utility value is estimated. It is nothing but the geometric mean of these two utility values. So UI plus UI minus by 2. Now based on the average utility value, the alternatives are ranked, and accordingly we can rank the alternative based on the values of this average utility, and the alternative with the highest average utility value is the best one, or is selected as the most preferred alternative or the best alternative. And also for the ROVM method, there is a slight change in the linear normalization equation. There are various types of normalization techniques, and this particular method uses this type of normalization techniques for the beneficial attribute or criteria, and this rate equation is used for the non-beneficial criteria. Okay, so now the use of normalization techniques actually differs from method to method, because some methods particularly give good results on some particularly adopted normalization techniques, and the performance of any MCTM method largely depends on the use of, on the selection of the normalization techniques. Now moving to the next method. Our next method is called as additive ratio assessment method, or ARAS method. It was also developed by Javadauskas and Taskis in 2010. This particular ARAS method is also based on the utility value of an alternative, which is determined by a comparison of variant with the ideally based alternative. See, in the previous method, that is the ROVM method, we calculated two different types of alternative and utilities. The first utility was based on the weighted sum, or the first utility was based on the overall performance score of an alternative based on the beneficial criteria, and the second utility was based on the weighted sum or the overall performance score based on the non-beneficial criteria. But in ARAS method, all the alternatives are compared with an ideally based alternative. That means this is an hypothetical alternative. This practically does not exist, but all the alternatives are compared with the ideally or the hypothetically based alternative. And it has also very simple steps. And the step number 1 is to construct or to develop the decision matrix. Now this decision matrix means it is the alternative and the criteria values, as we have already discussed. So it takes the form of an M into M or M into N number of alternatives, and criteria can be there. So it is basically an M into N matrix. Now after constructing the decision matrix, we can go for the normalization matrix, or to find out the normalized matrix by using linear normalization techniques. It also uses the same type of linear normalization technique that was adopted for ROVM method. After this normalization phase, we can go for the weighted normalized value, or that means we have to determine the weighted normalized matrix which is indicated by Y. The step 4 is to determine the optimality function SI for each of the alternatives by using a weighted sum equation like SI equals to summation of Yij. Yij is the weighted normalized. That means it is the same equation that we used in case of SAW or ROVM method. But here we are taking the weighted sum of the beneficial and the non-beneficial criteria simultaneously or together. So this SI value indicates the overall performance score of an alternative with respect to both non-beneficial and beneficial criteria. Now, once this overall optimality function SI or the overall performance score of an alternative is estimated, next we can identify the degree of utility, or we can calculate the utility degree of the alternative. So this is the distinctive phase of this RS method, which makes the difference between RS method and any other MCDM methods of the same category. Now, this degree of utility is nothing but the ratio of this SI value. That means SI of a particular alternative is divided with this S0. That means the optimality function of the ideal alternative. Now, now how to identify the alternative? Ideal alternatives. It is the alternative with the highest utility value. That means first we need to find the highest S max value. So, or U max value. So alternative with the highest utility value is the best choice. Now this S0 is nothing but the maximum SI value among the alternatives. That means the alternatives with the maximum SI value is termed as ideal alternative or ideally best alternative. Say there are 4 alternatives or there were 4 laptop models. Now for each of the laptop models we need to identify the optimality function by using this weighted sum approach. Now, after we get the 4 overall score of the 4 laptop models, the ideally best alternative will be that alternative which will have the highest SI value. So, S0 is nothing but the SI max value among all the alternatives. Now, this degree of utility is estimated by comparing all the individual alternative with the hypothetically best alternative or S0. So this ratio gives us the utility degree of all the other alternatives. An alternative with the highest utility value or Umax value is selected as the best choice or the best alternative. And the alternatives will be ranked accordingly to this UI value. Now we can consider an empirical case study to explore the applicabilities or how these particular 4 methods can be applied. Okay. So now we are taking now one most important term that I forgot to mention is that in any MCDM method, as I already discussed, that after the development of the decision matrix or after identification of the alternative and criteria and their respective values, we need to go for data normalization. And before application of the actual MCDM model, so in between data normalization and the application of MCDM method, there is one more phase which was known as the criteria weight estimation. And in MCDM, we can derive the criteria weights using lots of methods, and those methods are also called MCDM methods. And for criteria weight estimation, we have some statistical methods. We have some particular decision making methods like MCDM methods are also there. Under statistical methods, we have the information entropy or Shannon's entropy method. It is a simple statistical model which is used to calculate the relative importance of the weights of the criteria. And apart from this entropy method, we also have standard deviation method. Then analytical hierarchy process, which was developed by Thomas L. Sethi. This particular MCDM method is vastly used for criteria weight estimation. And so we can use, or the decision maker can use any of the methods for criteria weight estimation. For this particular problem, as this is not a part of this PPT, so I have used entropy method for this weight calculation. Okay, so this particular empirical case study or we can see that it has 10 alternatives. We have 10 alternatives and 4 criteria. Okay, so we have 10 alternatives indicated as A1 to AN, and we have 4 criteria from C1 to C4. Now, so this is called the decision matrix. So the table number 2 is called the decision matrix, where we have all the alternatives and their respective criteria values. So this matrix is called as the decision matrix. Okay. Now, this out of these 4 criteria, I have marked 3 criteria in red colors. It means to differentiate between the beneficial criteria and non-beneficial criteria. That means C1, C2, C3, these are the 3 non-beneficial criteria which are indicated by red color. That means for C1, C2 and C3, mostly lower values are always preferable, whereas C4 is the beneficial criteria where higher values are always preferable. Okay, so to make the distinction between the beneficial and non-beneficial criteria, we have adopted this color coding. Okay, red indicates non-beneficial where lower values are preferable. Black indicates, or the gray shaded or the blue shaded column indicates the beneficial criteria where higher values are always preferable. Now, so this is the input data basically. So this data has to be given as an input information to model or to further apply any of the 4 MCDM methods about which we have already discussed. That means these decision matrix or this input information will be same for these 4 SAW, WASPAS, ROVM and RS method. There will be no change in the criteria weight and in the decision matrix values. Now we will see how we can apply these 4 methods and what will be their outcomes after application of these 4 methods. Now first we will try to apply this SAW method. Okay. Now as we have seen that the second step for any MCDM after development of the decision matrix is the data normalization. As we have already discussed that the SAW method uses, or any of the additive MCDM method uses, linear normalization technique. So if I recall this particular an equation, I am going back to the slide. Now here we can see these 2 equations are used for the beneficial criteria and non-beneficial criteria. That means for C1 to C3, these 3 are the non-beneficial criteria. So this second equation will be used, minimum of Xij by Xij value. So this particular data normalization equation will be used for the criteria for C1 to C3. And the first equation will be used for the beneficial criteria, that means the C4 criteria. Okay. Now, again, we are coming back to the application part. Now, after using these equations, we have got this normalized data. That means the alternatives and this C1 to C4. Now, see, in the previous cases, all the criteria were having different units. Now, all the criteria values have been transformed into dimensionless values ranging from 0 to 1, as we have already discussed. Okay. Now, these criteria values do not have any dimension or any units. So, this technique or this table is called as normalized decision matrix, and this particular phase is called data normalization, to transform the criteria with dimension to the criteria without dimension or dimensionless criteria. So after this normalization phase, we can go for the estimation of the overall performance score values. That means for A1 alternative, for the first alternative, this overall performance score or the PI value is calculated by, see, now for the A1 alternative, the first criterion value is 0.8370. 0.8370. So its overall value will be indicated or is estimated by this 0.8370 of C1 value into the relative criteria weight of C1, that means 0.3206. That means 0.8370 into 0.3206 plus 0.8389 into 0.2119 plus 1 into 1469 plus 0.8594 into 0.3206. That means we are having only the additive models. That means the criteria values are multiplied first with their criteria weights and they are summed up. That means 0.8370 into 0.3206 plus 0.8389 into 0.2119 plus 1 into 0.1469 plus 0.8594 into 0.3206. And after this multiplication and overall addition, these PI values will be obtained. That means the overall performance score or PI value for the first alternative is obtained as 0.8685. In the similar way, we have calculated all the PI values of the other alternatives. Now we can see, as I said, we have already mentioned that based on these PI values, we can rank the alternative, and the alternative with the highest PI value will be the best alternative. So according to the, or as per the values of this PI, we have ranked the alternatives, and from where you can see that A4 alternative, alternative 4 or A4 alternative is the alternative with the maximum or highest PI value, that means 0.9480. So this alternative has been ranked as the best alternative or first ranked alternative. That means for this particular selection problem, A4 is undoubtedly the best alternative, and the decision maker has to select and implement A4 alternative because it has received a rank of 1. Accordingly, A9 alternative has the second highest PI score, that means 0.8843. Accordingly, it has got the second position in the ranking order or rank number 2. So it is the second best alternative in the ranking order. And as we can see, this A6 alternative, it has the lowest value of PI, 0.8083. So its rank is 10th. That means it is the least preferred alternative or the last ranked alternative. It has received 10 rank out of the 10 alternatives. That means it is the worst alternative based on the input information that we receive. Now, and this is worthy to mention that this ranking will depend on two parameters. First one is the data normalization, and the second parameter is the criteria weight. If any of these two parameters are changed, the ranking may also change. And to check whether the ranking is changing or not, if we change the data normalization technique or the criteria weights, this step is called the testing phase or the sensitivity analysis phase. That means to check if the input information is changed, how it will affect the outcome or the output of the model. That means output of the model is the PI value of the or the performance score, and according to the performance score, the ranking order of the alternatives can change. So these two values and their corresponding rank of the alternatives will depend on data normalization and the criteria weights that has been used. So if any of the input parameters is changed, there is a probability or the outcome or the output of the model may also change. In some cases, it will not change if the model is not sensitive, but if the model is sensitive, the model outcome may also change. And based on the changing circumstances, we need to take an appropriate decision. Okay, so this is the simple calculation for SAW method and their outcomes. Now we are going to apply this WASPUS method. Now, as I said, WASPUS method has two distinct methods, but it comprises of two distinct methods. The first method is the SAW method, and the second method is the WPM method. So, as we have already used the SAW method, so I will just copy and paste these PI values of the alternatives for SAW column. So under SAW column, you can see the same values that we have already estimated in our last page. Like alternative A1 had this 8685 values, these 8685 values. So alternative 1 has 0.8685 value. Alternative A2 has a PI value of 8293. So I have just copied and pasted it in the SAW column because we have already calculated the PI value using SAW for WASPUS method. Now, if we follow the algorithm of WPM method, we can get the second column or the next column, that means the QI2 values or the next PI values. And according to the algorithm of the WPM values, or WPM model, we are getting the overall performance scores of the alternatives in this order. So these are the overall performance scores of the alternatives obtained using WPM method. Now, once these two methods are aggregated, and the aggregated equation was the overall or the overall performance scores of WASPAS method QY is equal to lambda into the PI value of SAW plus 1 minus lambda into PI value of WPM method. Now, as I said already, that the average or the normal score for lambda is taken as 0.5. So 0.05, sorry, 0.5 is the normal or the generally taken value for lambda. So when lambda takes a value of 0.5, the overall or the aggregated QI values become like this. That means 0.5 into 0.0865 plus 1 minus 0.5 means 0.5 again into 3.8606, and by doing this we can achieve the overall performance score or QI value for this WASPAS method. Now, based on this concept, we have accordingly calculated the QI values for all the 8 alternatives, and we can see that based on these overall QI values, the rank of the alternatives have been derived, and we can see that again A4 alternative, it was highest in SAW method, it is again highest for WPM method, and it is again highest for WASPAS method. That means by all these 3 methods give A4 alternative or indicate A4 alternative as the most superior alternative with the rank 1. So accordingly, based on the overall QI values of WASPAS with lambda equals to 0.5, A4 alternative emerges out as the best alternative with rank 1. Accordingly, and again A9 alternative has also emerged out as the second best alternative for all these 3 methods. That means for SAW method, for WPM, and for WASPAS with lambda equals to 0.5, A9 emerges out as the second best, and A6, which was the worst alternative, it remained under the same position. There is no change in the ranking order of any of the alternatives. So from this phenomena, we can say that A4 alternative is undoubtedly the best alternative when we apply SAW WPM or WASPAS method with lambda equals to 0.05. So accordingly, the ranks are derived. Now in WASPAS method, I have already said that the equation was lambda plus 1 minus lambda, and the lambda value can range from 0 to 1. So now we can check. If we change the lambda value in the range of 0 to 1, how it will impact the overall performance score of the alternatives, and we will see how the ranks will be changed or if there will be any change in the ranks or not. So based on this notion, we have considered the effects of lambda values in WASPAS method. That means these were the 10 alternatives, and now I have changed the lambda value or we have varied the lambda values in a range of 0 to 1. So we have distributed the lambda values in the range of 0 to 1 among the 10 divisions, and when we are putting lambda equals to 0, it becomes WPM. When we put lambda equals to 1, it becomes SAW method, and we have already calculated the lambda values with 0.5. That means these are the normal score of the alternatives with a lambda value of 0.05 that we have already estimated. So you can cross check it. These are the same values. The first alternative has a value of 2.6345. Here I have written the same value. That means it is the same overall performance score values when in WASPAS method we considered a lambda value of 0.5. Okay. Now when we are varying the lambda values in the other intervals like 0, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 up to 1. So lambda values are varied in the range of 0 to 1. These are the overall performance scores of the alternatives. And based on these performance scores of the alternatives, we have again ranked the alternatives. Now, when lambda equals to 0, okay, when lambda equals to 0, the rank of the alternative is this one. It is exactly similar to WPM method, because when we put lambda equals to 0, as I already mentioned, Waspath method becomes WPM method. And when lambda equals to 1, it behaves or it becomes the SAW method. So for 0 and 1 column, we have put the values from SAW and WPM model. Now for the intermediate values from what is 0.1 to 0.9, based on these overall performance scores of lambda, on the basis of lambda value, we have ranked the alternative. And from the second table, we can see that A4 alternative retained its best position for all lambda values. That means whether the lambda value is 0 or 0.5 or 1, on in any range from 0 to 1, there is no change in the ranking position of the alternative A4. It retained its best position for all lambda values. Now, whereas we can also see the A9 alternative also retained its second best position for all the lambda values. There is no change in the ranking position of A9. It has retained its second position. And whereas this A6 alternative, which was originally the worst alternative, its position has also not been changed for any of the lambda values. That means for any of the lambda values, Waspath method indicates A6 as the worst alternative with the rank 10 out of the 10 alternatives. However, we can see that and you can see that there has been no change observed in any of the alternatives. Each and every alternative has retained its original ranking position for all the lambda values. It means it indicates that the method is less sensitive, robust, and it can give us reliable results because it does not depend on the lambda value, whether lambda is 0.5 or 0 or 1, it does not impact. But for this particular problem, the lambda value may not have any impact, but for other problems, it may impact the ranking results. And once we compare or once we analyze the ranking results, based on the final analysis, we have to take an appropriate decision. I am again repeating, for this particular problem, this lambda value had no impact, but this case may not be same for all the problems. In other problems, lambda may have some impact on the ranking order. So we need to analyze the ranking order of the alternatives, and after a proper analysis, we have to take an appropriate decision. Now we are coming to the ROVM method or the range of value method. As we already discussed that this range of value method is basically an additive utility based methods where the summation of the non-beneficial criteria are taken as first utility and the summation of the beneficial criteria is taken as the another one or the next utility. And when we club all the utilities, we get the overall score. So the first step after data normalization, we need to estimate the weighted normalized matrix. So for the ROVM method, so this is the weighted normalized matrix. That means after data normalization, we need to multiply the respective criteria weight with its respective normalized criteria value. And this is the weighted normalized matrix. Okay. Now, after estimating this weighted normalized matrix, we have to identify the two utility values. That means this UI plus it indicates the utility value of the alternatives when the additive summation of their weighted normalized value for the beneficial criteria is taken into consideration, and this UI dash or UI minus is based on the aggregate or additive utility values for the non-beneficial criteria only. So accordingly, we have estimated the the utility values for all the alternatives based on the single one, the beneficial criteria C4, and for the other non-beneficial criteria, that means C1 to C3. And once we get these individual UI plus and UI minus values, we will take the simple average or geometric mean of these UI values. And after taking the average values, that means 0.1687 plus 0.3365 by 2, we are getting these average values. So based on the average UI values, the rank of the alternatives are obtained, or the alternatives are ranked based on these average UI values. And from this rank, we can see that for ROVM method, again A4 emerges out as the best alternative, and A9 emerges out as the second best alternative. They have not changed their position in the ranking order for the SAW method, WPM method, WASPAS method, and also for ROVM method. So A4 and A9 are the first and second best alternative out of the 10 considered alternatives. However, we can see that the ranking order of the other alternatives have been changed. It is due to the fact that ROVM method is based on the utility concept, whereas the other methods were based on the additive summation technique. So based on the mathematical modeling, or how much or how the mathematical model has been treated, and the ranking order of the alternatives will change. But as our focus in NCDM method is to identify the best alternative, so whether the intermediate alternative changes their rank or not, it is not very important. So we may ignore the ranking of the other alternatives, as we have received our target or objectives. And our objective is to identify the best alternatives. And for all these methods, A4 has emerged out as the single best alternative. So we can say that MR is undoubtedly the best alternative as given by all these 4 methods. Okay, so now we can see these UII plus values are nothing but the sum of weighted beneficial criteria, and these UI minus are the sum of weighted of non-beneficial criteria, as we have already discussed. Now we are okay with the application of RS method, or additive ratio assessment method. Okay, so also the RS method starts with the data normalization. So we have already normalized the data. So now we are estimating the weighted normalized matrix for ROVM method. Now, see, these are the alternatives, and these are the weighted normalized matrix. So, okay, so using the weighted normalized matrix, we can calculate these SI values and UI values. The weighted normalized matrix is same that we have already used for the WASPAS method and ROVM method. So there is no change in the weighted normalized matrix. So we are considering the same matrix because in all these 3 methods, we have used the same equation for data normalization, except the SAW method. So based on the weighted normalized matrix, these SI, that means these are the sum of the weighted normalized matrix. So based on the summation of the weighted normalized or the weighted criteria values, we have achieved these SI values. So for the 10 alternatives, we are estimated the SI values or the weighted sum of the weighted normalized matrix, or the sum of the weighted normalized matrix. Now, from this SI column, we need to identify the ideally best alternative. As we have already mentioned that ideally best alternative is the alternative which will have the maximum SI value. So from this column, from the second column, we can see that A4 alternative has the maximum SI values. So it means A4 will act as the ideal alternative, and all the other alternatives have to be compared with the ideal alternative. So based on this concept, we are now calculating the values of UI. So UI is the utility value of all the alternatives, or the ith alternative, and UI is given by SI by S0. That means for the first alternative, UI value is calculated as 0.5052 by 0.7931. The first alternative has to be compared with the ideally best alternative A4. The second alternative has to be compared with the ideally best alternative A4, and the same process will be followed for all the alternatives. And A4, as it has emerged out as the ideally best alternative, so its UI value will be 1 because it will be compared with itself. So now, so on the basis of these overall UI values or utility degree values, we can rank the alternatives. And again, we can see that Aras method also indicates A4 alternative as the most preferred alternative with the rank 1. And also A9 emerges out as the second best alternative. So again, we can see that there has been no changes in the ranking orders of A4 and A9 alternative in the ranking order. That means A4 alternative has been able to retain its best position for all the additive and MCDM methods, and whereas A9 alternative has also retained its second best position for all the considered MCDM methods. So after this analysis, we can say that A4 and A9 are the two most preferred alternatives out of the 10 considered alternatives, whereas A4 is the best one and A9 is the second most preferred alternative out of the 10 considered alternatives. Now we can go for a comparative rank analysis. That means if we plot the ranking of all the alternatives as we obtained using the 4 methods, namely SAW, WPM, WASPAS, ROVM, and ARAS, 5 methods actually. Okay, so if we plot the ranking performance of all these 5 methods, so this graph is obtained. So from this graph, we can see that A4 alternative for all these 5 methods, A4 alternative has received the rank first. Along y-axis we have plotted the rank, along x-axis we have plotted the alternative. So from this graph we can see that alternative A4 has retained its first rank for all these 5 methods, whereas A9 alternative has retained its second position for all these 5 methods. However, there are some minor changes in the ranking of some intermediate alternatives. Okay, so from this analysis, we can say that A4 and A9 are the two most preferred alternatives, and whereas A2, see, A2 has been ranked as the most worst or the most least preferred alternative by most of these methods. Either A2, sorry, yes, either A2 or A6. So A2 and A6 have been ranked at the two least preferred alternatives with the ranks either 9 or 10 or 8. That means A2 and A6 are the two least preferred alternatives, and whereas A4 and A9 are the two most preferred alternatives after application of these 5 methods from the considered decision matrix. Okay, so this was the comparative rank analysis for all these 5 methods. Okay, now these are the few of the references that we have used for all our model calculations and to discuss about all these methods. So we have used these following references. And these are some of the book series with which I am the lead series editor. Like I have a book series on big data and sustainable high performance computing from Elsevier, and also we have a series on smart and intelligent computing and engineering from CRC Press, international perspectives on decision analysis and operational research from Emerald Group. We also have a series from Willy Scrivener called Sustainable Computing and Optimization, and so on. So these are some of the series for which I am associated with it. And so at the end, thank you for listening. And now if you have any queries, you can ask me, we can discuss on any of the topics.
Thank you, Professor, for your quite informative and very lucid and beautiful presentation. And you have explained all these concepts so lucidly and so, so beautifully that I am sure that participants also have enjoyed your presentation. So I'm sure I request the participants to write questions in the chat box so that we can refer those to the professor for answering those questions. Right now, I can see the question is like that. In ARAS method, why we are calculating UI? The first question.
Okay, and okay, just let me go to the ARAS method, mathematical modeling. From see, so this particular ARAS method, as we have seen that this ARAS method is basically based on the concept of utility degree or utility value of an alternative. So once we have the optimality function, this optimality function is basically nothing but the weighted sum of all these values. Now, this ARAS method is based on the concept that each of the alternatives will be compared with the best alternative or the ideally best alternative in terms of utility. That means how much the rest of the alternatives is close or far from the ideally best alternative. And the alternative which is the closest alternative with the ideally best alternative is ranked as the best alternative. So this is the main concept of ARAS method. And this is the function of calculating the utility, because the degree of utility indicates how much closer the alternative is with the ideally best alternative, or how far the alternative is from the ideally best alternative. So, and that is the requirement of this particular method.
Okay. Second question we received from Dr. Ramkrishna Manatkar, that why we have different methods when results are same?
See, we have almost more than 40 or 50 MCDA methods under different categories. Now, why we have so many methods? The reason is that first one, the most common reason is the scientists have already developed these methods. Now, for a particular problem, which method has to be selected? It is also an MCDM problem that nobody has got any proper answer. But based on the data availability, based on the notion of or based on the ability of the decision maker, their mathematical backgrounds, so a particular method is basically selected. So first we need to identify the problem objective. If we need to identify the utility of the alternatives, or if somebody wants to compare the alternative with the ideally best alternative to check the utility of the alternative, ARAS method can be utilized. So based on the objective of the decision maker, based on the requirement of the decision maker, based on the available data of the decision maker, and based on the perception of the decision maker, a particular MCDM method is chosen. And also the background of the decision maker also plays a vital role in selection of any MCDM method. But we cannot say which particular MCDM method is suited for a particular problem. It cannot be said, but it is always better to apply several MCDM methods for a particular problem, compare their results, and then take the appropriate decision. Because as we all know that in industries, making a wrong decision can incur a huge loss in terms of financial losses, and also in terms of losing the branding or the image of the company. So it is better to go for the application of several MCDM methods for a particular problem, compare the result, analyze the result, and then take the decision. It is always better to apply several MCDM problems for a particular problem or MCDM methods, compare it, and then take the decision. It always guides the decision makers to reaching a best decision.
The second question there, is it necessary to use all methods for ranking the same? As you answered, I am sure that you have answered this question. Okay. The second question is, alternatives means input. Yes. How to get weight PI values using WPM?
WPM.
I mean,
okay. See, this WPM, this WASPAS method has two components. The first component is the SAW method that we have already discussed. Now, weighted product method means it is the multiplicative form of SAW method. So this particular equation is used for WPM. That means it is the multiplication of the normalized value and to the power of the criteria weights. So this is the simple way for calculating the PI values for WPM. It is a weighted product. That means we have to take the product of the normalized value and the weight to the power weight and their product value.
Okay.
So this equation is used for WPM for the overall score or PI value.
Sir, I have a question. Since I don't have any questions, I can't see any question in the chat box. I'm sure that participant. Okay, I have received one question. Among various MCDM method, which MCDM method is more precise and effective for decision making? I mean, you have answered right now.
Yes.
Depends on the context and situation. But
yes,
but in this context, sir, I have a question. And if you permit me to ask
yes,
that,
yes.
I can ask.
Yes.
Supposing I want to compare 3 established methods. So one of the ways is to that check the ranks, to perform the sensitivity analysis, check the stability, then check the, the other things are there, rank reversal test, all these things are there. But if I want to statistically validate that which among the 3 methods, which method is performing better, is there any way to do that?
See, yes, we can check or we can apply some statistical models like we can apply Spearman rank correlation or Fisher's jet transformation model can be applied to check the ranking robustness of a particular MCDM method. Fisher's jet transformation can be applied.
Okay. Okay. Sir, if you don't mind, I request you that one request is that you please share your PPT for the participants.
Yes, sure.
And for my request is that the kind of thing which you have said, that Z transformation.
Yes.
If you have some paper on that, which
yes, I have paper because this concept of Z transformation in MCDM we developed in my PhD actually. In my PhD, we have adopted this particular jet transformation model to compare different MCDM methods together and to identify the best MCDM method for a particular problem, not for a general.
No, for a particular.
It cannot be generalized. Okay, for a particular problem, we can identify the best MCDM method.
So later, if you can share one kind of.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So I can't see any questions. So I assume that the way you have explained these 2 topics, although it seems very easy, but actually it is not. All these problems are seems very easy to apply, but once it is applied to solve real life problem, it seems difficult. I mean, you have to have control over the technique.
Yes,
so I assume that everything is quite understandable to the participants. So thank you, sir, for your valuable time and very nice, lucid and detailed session. We are really fortunate to have you, sir, and to hear you, and hope that in future also we can organize this kind of workshop in online mode, and we again can hear you more than one times.
Sure,
so with this hope, I thank all, and I also thank Professor Pramanik as he is present here. So with taking all your permission, and I would like to bid adieu to the participants because today is the end of this week. So next week on Monday, again, we will rejoin at 6:30 p.m. So till then, goodbye, good night, Shivratri.
Good night.
Thank you, Professor Biswas, for giving the opportunity to share.
It's my pleasure, sir.
Knowledge.
It's my pleasure and honor, sir.
Turning to all the participants. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank
you.